time for Coffee with Kilroy, or what I like to call beverage and a book. I got my beverage, coffee, big surprise there. And I hope you are having something that, comforts you, or something that you enjoy, or something that gets you up, if that's what you need in the morning. I'll provide the book, and the book today is Roll for Omaha, 1944, a solitaire World War II roll and write designed by Noah Patterson of Micro RPG. Now, Micro RPG, I think, is his publishing group of books that really are true to their namesake. They are small role-playing game books, small format, I think mostly solo, that deal with different genres like fantasy, sci-fi, maybe even horror. And but my first experience with a Noah Patterson game was his one-page World War II Tank Ardennes, which is interesting. It's a book that has just several of the same page over and over again, because you're supposed to write in the book and move to the next one, and write in the book and move to the next one, and they're double-sided. And of course, I don't tear up anything, so I make copies and do it that way. But this one, if you can see, you're going to be rolling and then determining, putting these areas on the board, and then dealing with terrain and enemies and towns, and moving on this board with your tank stats and accomplishing missions in the Ardennes. So, I mean, it's interesting. It's truly a roll and write, but it also has some of the features that we've seen a little bit with Mike Lambo's games, or his series of games. Although this one is a little bit more abstract in how you're putting out the areas, and which kind of reminiscent of a dungeon crawl, and you're moving along the board that way. Well, this one is different from even that. This one, truly is a roll and write, and when we get into this, I'll kind of explain to you why I think that's the case. But this is you're going to have linear tracks of at D-Day on the Omaha beach, and the beach is divided up into the historical sectors, and you're going to be moving along that beach and trying to advance your position, advance your position, and then take out the enemy position. We'll get into that when we page into it. But this to me kind of harkens back a little bit to good old D-Day dice, which had that same kind of concept, but it was more. It wasn't a roll and write. It wasn't like marking on a board. There wasn't the right part. You kept track of stuff on the board and moved stuff around on the board, and of course had a very elaborate dice system. But it also kind of, to me, is somewhat reminiscent of Beaches for the Brave by Mike Lambo, which again has this linear track, and you're going to be keeping track as you go up, keeping track of your forces as they land, and then go up this track to try to take out enemy positions. Anyway, due to the nature of D-Day with the beach landings and then trying to get territory to take out enemy position, a lot of games kind of have that look and feel of trying to advance along the beach. And so it's no surprise that Roll for Omaha has some of that same look and feel as well. So let me get me a sip here. Time for a group sip. And let's get inside this and take a look at this and see why I think this is even closer to a true roll and write. You've got your your rules here. Talks about the components. You got 50 copies of game sheets, so it's got the same game sheet. It's similar to what he did with one-page World War II Tank War Ardennes. There's the player aid, which is just a sheet in here that you're probably best to copy to keep that out to the side, so you're not flipping back all the time. You need a 6-sided die, pencil with good eraser. Well, I don't use eraser. I'll copy or mark or do something that I won't deface the book. That's just me. A penny, button, bead, or other marker to mark the weather track, and then you're off to go. And so here's the rules. And I think that it does a decent job. Everything's kind of color-coded. They made a color-coded reference to the charts here, so you can kind of know what each area and what they're talking about. It does a decent job of if you go through this and follow the color code, you're going to know exactly what you're doing here, or should. Again, this is roll and write and abstract, so it's not like some of the other, like the Lambo books, or that kind of get into more of taking a hex and counter game to the board. This is really just trying to recreate D-Day landings at Omaha Beach in a very abstract roll and write way. You got your sequence of play. The weather is going to affect a lot of different things. You've got your air support. Then you've got your bombing charts. And I say that, this is truly more like a roll and write. This has a lot of combat charts in it. This has, you have your bombing table, you have your landing table, you're going to have your combat table. So this, it does have a lot of combat tables in it. But this is just showing you how you mark off hits, and these are your forces. You have infantry, a tank, and engineers. Engineers are important because they can kind of clear the way for the tanks. So you got to kind of plan that out. As you see, there's kind of several different charts here. Here's your advanced chart. So a lot of trappings of a war game, but when it comes down to gameplay, you really are, it's more roll and write-ish in my opinion. Here's bombardment table, sorry. And there you have it. That's the rules. And then the rest of these are just these pages, right? Several of these pages. And so the way you play the game is, you're going to mark off the turn track. You're going to check weather, because weather's going to have effects on several different things. And then you're going to, you got to do your landings. You get the air support at the beginning, and so that's going to bomb the beaches. And you got to take out these barbed wire, which are kind of their initial defenses. You got to take out that first, then you can take out these boxes. You got these, each of these beaches have like 6 boxes. Those are the Germans. And what you're doing is you're going to roll on the advancement table, and you're going to try to advance, right? This is the infantry track, and this is the tank track, and you mark those off as you advance. And then, but you can also do combat. And when you do combat, you're going to take any weather effects, but you're also going to take whatever your highest ability is. So for this beach, infantry is 4. Tank is 5, and engineers are 2, but they're different on each. They can change. Well, they're different on different beaches, and they can also change when they take hits. When you take hits, you mark that off. So if this one right here, if this one would infantry take a hit, then it'd be a 2. So anyway, so that's your combat value, and then you take your combat value and you'll subtract the number of spaces you're away. So so the further you're away, the less effective your attack's going to be. So you want to always be advancing and making the attack. Engineers draw lines between these boxes, and every time once the infantry advances a certain distance, then you can go back and draw lines with the engineers if you have them. Use their ability to clear, and then that will allow the tank to advance up and get closer and make their attacks. And of course, the tanks have higher combat value, but they need to have the engineers kind of clear a path for them. And then you can also you've also got naval support too, and that's the last sequence before you check for victory. And so it's just rinse and repeat. You're doing that. So there is quite a bit of charts. You have your advanced chart, your attack chart, your air bombing table, your landing table, and your bombardment table. And there's some rules in here for reinforcements and the like, but basically that's the game. I mean, it's a matter of rolling on these charts and writing up here. So kind of interesting thing of taking traditional combat charts or combat results type tables, but using them to be the engine for your roll and write as you go up there. So that's kind of the game in the nutshell. But as you can see here, there's just several of these pages. I end up making copies of this. Some people, use trace paper, or they might, use plexiglass even, or, you can probably go buy picture frame at Walmart, one of those small picture frames, and use the plexiglass out of that, and use that to mark on for these kind of things. Or you might be able to use counters and stuff. This one really lends itself to more marking because it's you're really checking off a lot of boxes here, which is different than some of the other games like the Lambo games, which definitely have more of a hex grid. Also, I mean, these are self-contained. You have all your charts right here, so you're not referring to a lot of different. There are some explanations in here back in the book, but you've got your player's aid pretty much here, so you can just make a copy of this. There's a whole other story about that. You can make a whole other copy. Make a copy of just this page, and you've got everything you need to play the game. Well, minus sans, a pencil, and a die. But there you have it. That is this one here. Roll for 1944 is a World War II roll plus write game intended for one player. It is low complexity, abstract simulation of the D-Day invasion of Omaha Beach. The game includes the following components: 50 copies of the game sheets with accompanying player aid sheet, the rules of play. Take this book with you for on-the-go historical World War II wargaming, where you write your game moves directly in the book. So, out of all the ones I've covered several, take a look at my wargame book playlist down below, and you're going to see I've covered a lot of these different type of roll and write games over the last month or two, and I've got a few more coming. I'm kind of going back into the well of some of the old Minden games, because Minden was doing this for a while, but they were more war games in a book format. What do I mean by that? Meaning that they weren't really translated to be solely in a book. You have to sometimes pull components out, or make components, or make counters, or what have you, and it was a war game in a book as opposed to a book war game, if that makes any sense at all. Anyway, so I might go back and start doing some more of those, and there's some others that are still out there, and this is still developing. There's a lot of publishers that are doing stuff, and I might do a segment that just deals with that, kind of canvassing this segment of the industry, basically kind of going over a lot of stuff that I've already covered, but maybe just doing it at a higher level and comparing them, because in a comparison I find this one to be probably the closest to a true roll and write, although it does use combat charts, right? So it's got an interesting mix of war game feel, but roll and write execution. So anyway, don't know if Mr. Patterson's doing more in this space. I know at least these two, but interesting how each one of these are developing. So love to know your thoughts. Is this something to your taste? Is this too light? Is this too abstract? Is this too, kind of a waste of your time? Or is this something that's like, yeah, that'd be great. I throw that on a business trip, or I can take that somewhere where I'm waiting for somebody, and I can, divert my mind from whatever's going on, and kind of, have a somewhat of an abstract experience in storming Omaha Beach during 1944. Anyway, that's what I have for you all today. Sip time. I'd love to hear comments on that, and thank you for spending some time with me. Any amount of time is greatly appreciated. I know it's precious, so I do appreciate you all for spending that amount of time. That's why I do this. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have any ulterior motives other than I enjoy doing this. I like focusing on the hobby. It gives me a chance to kind of dive down into this hobby a little bit more that I've grown up with and loved for so many years, and share some of my thoughts with all of you. And so anybody that takes the time to listen to me, I gotta appreciate you. But love to hear your thoughts and comments on any of this stuff, because that kind of fuels this going forward too. Having an exchange of ideas. Anyway, I hope each one of you have a great rest of the day. Enjoy the rest of your copy. Get another cup if you need one. I know I probably need one. So take care. Thanks for watching.